This is why people should play more games. Call of Duty, Arc Raiders, Fortnite, Battlefield, they're dead, and GTA is still not out. What is anyone even playing these days? Not any of those, that's for sure. Arc Raiders? Never played it. Fortnite? Never played it. The last Battlefield I played was 1942. That game is awesome, but I was in middle school playing that. GTA 6 is not out yet, but the rest of the series is out, and you can play them. I did watch the full playthrough of 007 First Light. I think it's pretty good. The last Call of Duty that I played is Black Ops 2. The single player is fine, but the multiplayer of that game can be played offline with bots using Plutonium, LAN launcher, and configured using this guide on Steam. That game is more than a decade old, runs on almost anything with a GPU at this point, lots of maps and customizations, and it's still incredibly fun even to this day. The multiplayer component is also arguably superior than any of the recent installments. But even so, the game that I've been playing the most is Resident Evil Requiem, not the campaign. I'm talking about the Leon Must Die minigame. It's quite literally a roguelike minigame, but it is surprisingly fun, challenging, and relaxing. The point is, if your library of games are limited to whatever is the latest, you really need to expand before calling yourself a gamer. I'm at least glad that I still have functioning hardware to play games. At times when getting them is insanely difficult. I want to give a big shout out to AI companies for ruining the hardware market so much that Steam Deck prices rise hundreds of dollars. This is speaking as someone who does use AI and can see the benefits for using it, but people are unfortunately too dumb to use such sophisticated technology in a way that benefits them, not in a way that degrades them. Regardless, expect a lot of prices to increase for gaming-related hardware, because all the PC hardware will be hoarded by AI companies. Thankfully, you don't need a new hardware if you have one that can already play games, as this one PlayStation fanboy say. If I want to play Wolverine, Forza Horizon 6, GTA 6, Kena 2, Halo CE, and Fable, I can play on PS5. So tell me, how is PC better? I can work on it. Plain and simple. My jobs require a PC, including making this YouTube video. I don't need a PS5 to play. I have a PC already. And even then, I don't play that much. I can catch up with games through YouTube these days, and that's the only way I can catch up with games. That's what happens when you have multiple jobs and zero time to play. But I did catch up with First Light. Pretty good as far as James Bond games go. If you like your PS5, if you think that's enough to play the latest modern games, that is perfectly fine. Enjoy your PS5 and your long hours of playing as I work on my spreadsheets. I can't believe I'm a couple years away from 30. I feel really old. Appreciate the Kena shoutout. The first one is one of my favorite games of the 2020s, and I can't wait for the second one. Another hardware that might be getting that AI tax? Phones. I'm still struggling why iPhone users think they are superior. Giannis has all of that money and uses a Google Pixel. So, Pixel is awesome. It's a great phone with one of the best cameras in the business. My brother literally uses one. I don't see why Giannis using a Pixel is somehow a bad thing. What I especially find interesting about Giannis is that he's in sponsorship with Google since 2021. The fact that he actually used the very phone that he was sponsored with is infinitely better than the many artists and influencers promoting phones that they don't even use themselves. But hey, at least you're buying phones and not stealing them, right? You can't exactly pirate phones, not yet at least, but you can steal games. The one thing that I do agree with the anti-piracy side as someone who is pro-piracy is this. Isn't that considered theft? Yes. I do think that piracy is theft. Sure, theft requires the original owner not to have the object that was being stolen. Copying a file is not theft. But copying a paywalled file for free is theft, because the owner should have gotten the money according to the price of that file. You got the file, but the owner doesn't get the money required for you to own that file. Oh wait, I forgot that purchasing isn't owning these days, right? Never mind. I guess at that point, piracy is not theft at all. Let's say that it is for a second. The problem with piracy being theft isn't whether it's theft or not. The problem is whether you can make someone to care that it's theft or not. The cops? They do not care. They only care if you are a massive distributor of illegal content. But if you're just streaming a couple of episodes of The Pit from a pirate website, great show, they do not care at all. Probably because they too are doing it as well. The ones who do care the most are the owners. They will threaten lawsuits to people that got caught with pirating their software. Nintendo is infamous for this. Too many stories to talk about. You can look them up yourselves. But recently, a developer who used Maya was charged because they used an illegal copy of it, even though they bought it on a legal store, not a key reseller. That has nothing to do with piracy, but it does show how certain companies care when their product was being fraudulently acquired. Even then, companies enforcing their IPs are not universal to all companies around the world. Most of them generally do not care if you pirate their software. The ones who do are incredibly petty, greedy, and downright predatory that you might as well avoid at all costs anyway. Oh boy, you are not prepared for the following awful take on piracy. It's theft, but all the sheep will show up to say that we're defending multi-million-dollar companies. Yes, because you are. Velma!
Because you are!
The people who lose the most in piracy are the owners of the digital product that you are pirating. And even then, that loss is unquantifiable. Most of those owners are big corporations, so if you are universally against any forms of piracy, that means you are defending the big corporations as well, even when they are unfairly policing them. I want to come over your place and steal from you, so what if we don't care? That's quite the threat you got there. You are welcome to try. Unfortunately, the police doesn't care if you watch another season of a crappy superhero show on a pirate website. That said, they do care if you break to people's homes. Also, those two games were not really cracked. They use a technique called hypervisor. To put it simply, it's a technique that makes your PC to trick the game into thinking that everything is running legally. The problem is, running a hypervisor crack requires disabling all sorts of Windows security stuff, and that can be incredibly risky for someone who is not tech savvy. I personally have not tried a game cracked through hypervisor, and for anyone else who don't understand what it is, it's probably best not to touch it. Ah yes, speaking of Nintendo, man, some of their fanboys are nuts. There's a reason why the saying "Snitches get stitches" is made. These people are promoting an illegal way to play this game. Please shut this down! What an absolutely pathetic attitude. I don't understand how somebody can support a company this hard, especially when they unironically say this. That'll force them to buy your hardware to play these games. Well, since you brought up hardware, the game that was being snitched on is Zelda Twilight Princess, which is only available on the Wii, GameCube, and Wii U. And the guy is snitching on Dusk, a port for Twilight Princess on the PC that requires the original game. It's not even an emulator. It's a straight up port that requires the original game that you cannot play in modern platforms. And you're snitching to the company that doesn't let you buy this game or play it in any of the modern platforms. What an ass. We have a couple more gaming and pop culture media takes that are pretty bad. Just because you don't like a game doesn't make it not a game. This is a game, right? Yes, this is a game, as much as you hate to see it. That is indeed Stellar Blade, an action game that's released back in 2024. The context for this conversation is someone replying to a thread about the game Mixtape, an indie game that's been getting 10s from game journals and 0 out of 10s from YouTubers. I honestly don't understand why people care so much about this game. I can see why people hate it. I mean, sure, the game gets a lot of 10 out of 10s from game journalists, even though the game is just cutscenes and barely any gameplay, which apparently puts this game next to Elden Ring or any other masterpieces with proper gameplay. The thing is, none of these is new. Game journalists have been awarding indies 10 out of 10s all the time, even if they barely have any gameplay. So I don't see why Mixtape is anything special. I gave it a try, and I just find it boring. I can't find myself relating to the characters that the game tries really hard to make me care for and root for. This is coming from someone who loved the first Life is Strange. Maybe because Life is Strange has Max. Max is awesome. I love Max. And nobody in Mixtape is in anywhere near that level of character. And finally, we start off with fake gamers and end with fake horror fans. There's nothing wrong with being a new fan of a genre, but I think the bar of being a fan of something is getting ridiculously low. I've seen a lot of discussion around Jason finally coming to Dead by Daylight, and I've seen people calling others fake horror fans because they didn't know who he was. You don't know who Jason is? You call yourself a fan of horror and not know who Jason is?
You just lost all of your cred, dude. That's right. That's what you should do right now.
You don't have to know every horror icon to be a real horror fan. Excuse me, we're talking about Jason Voorhees. Knowing him is the bare minimum to be not just a horror fan, but a film fan in general. Others grew up on horror games, analog horror, psychological horror, or internet horror. Yeah, you can call yourself a fan of those specific horror genres, not horror in general. That landscape is way wider. Since you brought up Dead by Daylight, it has loads of horror icons. One of them is Freddy Krueger, who literally fought Jason. And you still have no idea who Jason is? Horror evolved, and so did the community. Evolve? More like degrade. If you don't know who Jason is, look him up. Learn more about him. Watch his films. If you're a fan of something, you will be naturally curious about that thing and learn more about it yourself. I got into Sonic in the early 2020s. I got curious of Sonic lore, franchises, and characters. I learned more about it because I am curious and I am interested. That makes me a fan. Most, if not almost everyone, are a fan of something by their own natural curiosity. I do not see that level of natural curiosity from this faker. Choosing to say that you have no idea who that is shows how ignorant you are. You cannot be a fan of something while being that ignorant or careless, and calling you a fake fan is perfectly apt. And that's all for the video today. Here's a cat. Huge thanks to all the wonderful sponsors this week. You're all fantastic. Don't forget to check out my previous videos here. Click the like button, comment, subscribe, join the YouTube membership, leave some tips, just $1 down below. And thanks for watching.